How's it going, everyone? I'm Sean and welcome back to the channel. If you're looking to get into guitar building, then you'll notice there are a huge variety of different tools that we use to do what we do. It can be very overwhelming, so I am making this essential tooling series to help you guys out. In this video, I'm going to be talking about one of the most important and probably one of the most boring topics, which is marking, measuring. So grab yourself a nice hot cup of tea, coffee, whatever you want. Get comfortable and enjoy. Starting off, before I get into the actual list, I think it's important to just stress how essential this is. If you don't have good marking and measuring tools, then you will not be able to mark things out and measure them correctly and accurately, which is going to lead to slop and, well, inaccuracy, which means potentially things won't fit, things won't play correctly, and things won't be in the place that you need them to be in. It is worth spending a little bit of cash here, making sure you get good tools. You don't need to get the top of the top, the absolute best, but please don't go out and buy the cheapest thing from Amazon, the cheapest thing from eBay. I have seen rulers that are missing the first millimeter on them. Now, that doesn't sound like a huge amount, but if you're trying to measure 5 millimeters and it's missing the 1, that's a 20% difference. Sometimes I'm measuring 3 millimeters or 2 millimeters. If I'm trying to measure 2 mil and there's one of them missing, you're going to have a problem. So make sure you get decent tools and don't cheap out. Starting off this list, number 1, most important, is going to be a mechanical pencil. You always see people harping on about these things, and with good reason. If you're using a normal whatever pencil that you sharpen with a razor blade, that's probably not going to be as accurate as you want. I've seen people using pencils that, sure, they sharpen them, they are razor sharp, but as you draw a line, if you're drawing a meter of a line, by the time you hit 500 mil, that thing is blunt. And your line will start off razor thin and get progressively wider as you go down, which means it's getting progressively less accurate. I've seen people trying to work off center lines that are like 2.5 mil wide because the pencil is so blunt. Do yourself a favor, pick up a mechanical pencil. This is the one I use. This is let me read it right here, Graph Gear 1000 by Pentel. I like a one that has a 0.5 millimeter wide lead. I also use ones that are 0.3 mil because they are even more accurate, and sometimes you need that accuracy. If you're laying out fret slots, for example, use the thin one. I also have a 0.9 that I like, which is really good for drawing. You don't have to get the best ones out there on the market, but definitely get a mechanical pencil. Get a couple of them. They're really, really handy and really, really essential. Next up on my list is going to be rulers. I'm clumping them all into one category here, but I really, really feel like you should be getting a small 6-inch 150 mil and at least a meter rule. I also love a 600 mil, which is 2 feet, 24 inches. If you have those 3 rulers, 150, 600, 1000 mil, you're going to be set. You're going to be absolutely golden. These ones are essential to get the good ones. There's not much else to say about rulers. I mean, you need a ruler. You need to be able to measure things. If you need to be able to figure out the distance, from one side of the pickup to the other, figure out how wide that cavity needs to be. You can't just guess. You need a ruler. Meter rules, of course, for laying out scale lengths, laying out how long a piece of wood needs to be. Not quite how long a piece of string needs to be, but get yourself a nice ruler. Absolutely essential. You're going nowhere without a half decent one. Number 3 on the list is going to be calipers. You're going to find so many times when you need to know the exact diameter of something for drilling holes. Simple as that. If you want to put pots into your guitar, you need to find out, hey, how big does this hole need to be for the pot to fit through it? Calipers is going to be the quickest and easiest way to do it. You can absolutely get a ruler, hold it up against it, do your best and guess. 9 times out of 10 that's going to be fine. But if you're fitting, let's say, bridge studs for a tune-o-matic bridge, they need to be tight. You need to have to hammer those guys home. A press fit, while good, is not going to work. And if they're loose, no, not going to happen. Get yourself a decent set of calipers. Again, not the cheapest ones on Amazon. You do not need to go out and get the, 400-pound Mutatoyo ones that are really, really beautiful and are accurate within 0.0001 of a millimeter. But if you did want to get them, tell me how nice they are, because I want to know. Make sure you got metal ones, not carbon fiber or plastic. They can flex and bend, and that's no good. And also, one really weird thing that I've been seeing is ones that don't have the depth stop on the end. When you open a calipers, it should have a little bit of a stick that kind of pokes out the end of the ruler. Make sure you have one of them. You need to be able to measure the depth of things every now and again. So add a calipers to your list and pick a nice one up. I'm going to interrupt this video as well really quickly just to say, first of all, thank you so much for watching this far. If you are enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate if you pop down below, hit the subscribe button. From my analytics, I can see that most people are not subscribed to watch my videos. And while that's perfectly fine, I would really appreciate, because it helps me out a lot, if you would hit that subscribe button. Anyway, back to tools. Next up on the list is going to be a square. Now, these come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. You can get combination squares, you can get engineer squares, you can get old wooden, nice ones made of rosewood and brass and all these lovely things. It doesn't matter what one you have, so long as it's square. It's a very easy way to check if a square is square. You get a nice straight surface, put the square up against it, strike a line, flip it over, and that line should line up with the edge you've just drawn it against. If it doesn't line up, your square isn't square. And a not square square, well, it's not going to measure square, is it? I have a beautiful, very small Moore and Wright adjustable square that I use and I absolutely love. It's so handy. It's one of those ones, if you're around the workshop, put it in your back pocket, use it all the time. Beautiful things. But a nice square should probably last you forever, and it will serve you well. The older ones that are, usually rosewood handle with a steel strip on the side, they're really nice. I love them myself, but you've got to check if these are square. Because they are made with wood, they can change over time, and it's so essential to have calibrated measuring tools, as it were. So add a square to your list, make sure you get one, and make sure it's square. Now, last on the list for my essential tools, and I do have a bonus one, so stay tuned for that one. My last one is going to be a protractor. You can get those half moon style protractors that usually have a center rule on the bottom. They are one of my favorite tools. They are probably not the most essential. A mechanical pencil is going to be top of the list, but a protractor is absolutely on the essential list nonetheless. There are good ones made by Crimson Guitars, made by Incra, I believe is the other name, and I'm sure there are a plethora of other ones out there as well. I really like the ones that have the ruler at the bottom because that ruler is super, super handy. A protractor is probably my #1 reach for measuring tool after my 6-inch ruler, and with good reason. If I need to strike a line at 90 degrees, to a center line on a guitar, for example, that protractor is the way to do it. If you need to measure out a headstock angle, protractor is the way to do it. Protractor is probably the only way to do it, in fact. Grab yourself a nice protractor, do yourself a favor, get the decent ones. They are a little bit pricey. They're the kind of thing that I know myself, I looked at them and I said, nah, never going to be useful enough to justify that price. I'm not paying whatever it is, 25, 30 pounds for this thing. I'm going to get plastic ones off eBay. The cheaper ones, if they are square and accurate, are fine. Don't get me wrong, they are what I used for the longest time, but the metal half moon ones are the next level. They are beautiful to use and they are so handy. You will never run out of instances when they are useful. Get yourself a protractor, do yourself a favor. That pretty much sums up my essentials list. But of course, like all the other videos I'm doing here, I have a bonus one for you. This is one that, again, is not the most essential. It's pretty essential, but you can get away without having one. And that is a marking gauge, specifically a wheel marking gauge. The likes of Veritas, Tightmark, I believe, are another one that do them. There are a couple of off-brand ones as well. And as far as I'm concerned, a wheel marking gauge is a wheel marking gauge. I do have a Veritas one. I've got the standard Veritas, which is a micro adjustable, which is beautiful to use. And I've used the non-micro adjustable ones that are off-brand ones as well, and they work beautifully fine. What it is basically a brass head with a blade, and then you can adjust the thickness of it. You've seen these in wood as well. The wooden ones work perfectly fine. I prefer the wheel ones because they just seem to work better in more situations. For marking out consistent thicknesses, these are the go-to tool. They are great. They're easy to use. They are not the most expensive thing in the world. They're useful. You can absolutely get away with not having one of these, but if your budget allows, pick one of them up. You will be very, very happy that you do. And that is it. That is my list of essential marking and measuring tools. Let me know if you've got any comments down in the comment section below. Do you think this list is good? Is it bad? Is there things on it that you think shouldn't be there? Mechanical pencil. Are you happy enough with your builder's one that you sharpen with a brick? I've done that before. It actually works surprisingly well. Do you think there's anything I have missed on this list? I know there are a huge amount of measuring tools out there. I don't think all of them are essential, but a lot of them are useful. Let me know what your favorite non-essential tool is down below. Marking and measuring. Go into my other videos for other fun tools. If you've watched this far, I'm hoping that you did enjoy the video, and hopefully you like the other content that I'm putting out. If you do, I'd really appreciate it if you head down below and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified anytime I do other videos, make sure to hit the bell icon and hit that notify all. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you all again real soon.